Okay, so we are now recording. I'm just making sure. And yeah, looks good. Okay, so this is a section that I got from the Key Club International website on a club secretary. And what you're going to do this year as a secretary is you're going to be all of these things. And I know it sounds super intimidating, but you're put in this position for a reason and you're going to do a great job. So this year, you're going to be the organizer, the record keeper, the connector, the communicator, and the recognizer. And let's dive into some more specific responsibilities. So this is what you're going to do this year. You're going to take minutes and sign-in sheets at all meetings, so general meetings and board meetings. You're going to keep track of sign-in sheets for service projects, any sort of service events that you may do this upcoming year. You're going to record all member service hours. So that means you're going to have this huge spreadsheet of everyone's hours, every single member's hours. And if a member happened to ask you, hey, how many hours do I have right now? You should be able to tell them. Fourth, you're going to complete monthly reports. I put this in all caps because this is super important and it is an extremely vital thing to do as a secretary. And lastly, you're going to maintain communication with other officers and your LTG. So I know that some clubs have 2 secretaries or maybe even more. If you do have 2 secretaries, then feel free to divvy up these responsibilities as you see fit. Or since you're a club officer, you are also going to do anything that your officers need you to. So whether that be from the editor or the president or anyone else, just make sure you try to stay on top of everything as well as you possibly can. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but if you have any questions at any time, you can unmute or say so in the chat. I'm going to try to check the chat periodically, but if I don't get to your question soon enough, then feel free to unmute. Okay, so here are some great resources that you can look at as you go through this year as secretary. On tokeyclub.com, our website, we have a page called Secretary Resources. It is super, super useful. I'm going to click on it right now. And as you can see, there are a ton of different things that you can look at on here. This is the link for the monthly report, which we'll go over later. But if you go down here, this is the updated point system for 2020-2021, sample minutes report, just a lot of resources that can definitely help you as you go through this year. Also, Key Club International has a secretary guide that you can check out. I'm going to share this presentation with everyone afterwards, but if you click on this link, they will have a club secretary officer guide that you can download and that can help you out as well. Also, people are resources too. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to contact your club president, LTG, faculty advisor, or me. And I have some of my contact information down below, but I will have another contact slide at the end if you want to take a picture of that. If you don't know what Remind is, it's like an app, I guess, that you can use to receive updates, text message updates. So if you want to join my Remind, text at TOSEX to 81010. And I'll have this again at the end. So here are the changes that I'm making this year because of the pandemic. So since there are only 3 quarters left, which means our first quarter was like there was no reporting, no points coming in, there will only be 3 times that top 25 will be announced. And I will talk about top 25 more in depth in a bit, but that means that there are less months for you to get those points in, and that means that those points count even more than they have in the past. So what you really want to do this year is try your best to stay on top of your monthly reports, stay on top of all your duties, because they will definitely reflect in your points. Second, donation drives will be counted under service projects and the donation drive section. So I will click on the monthly report form in a bit, but if you haven't seen it before, there's a section for you to put in service projects and then a separate section for you to put in donation drive stuff. For this year, donation drives can go in both sections, so you'll get a lot of points for doing those. I know that it's a very popular option, especially since we are social distancing. Okay, I'm gonna go over sign-in sheets in a second, but Alina did answer. You can definitely send a Google Form spreadsheet and I'll show you how to do that. But anyways, yeah, donation drives are a super popular option during the pandemic just because you don't have to make that much contact with anyone. So that's why they're being counted in 2 places this year. And also, I added an extenuating circumstances section to the end of the monthly reports form. So I understand that a lot of clubs this year won't even be meeting up for like not even the first semester. And that definitely takes a toll on monthly reports. So if there's anything that you're struggling with just because of your school policy or in general, personally as well, feel free to put that in that section so that I know what's going on and I can reward you from 0 to 10 points just for that section. So I have some updated resources as well, just to guide you through the process of monthly reporting as we go through this year. Basically everything that I just said in that past slide, I put onto a document right here, and I will get this on the website as soon as possible. It just has basically everything I went over and also how to host meetings online, how to do sign-in sheets for online meetings, all of that jazz. And this service hours conversion, I'll also go over that as we go through our monthly report form in a second. Also, the reporting points value system that Karina, the IP District Secretary, had last year, I just updated a couple of things on it. This is what it looks like. It's also on the website. My computer's lagging a little bit, but if you go down, I just highlighted everything that I changed. I only changed 2 things. So as I said, donation drives can be submitted in the activity sheet, and there will be an added extenuating circumstances section. How to take minutes. Here's what you need to do, everything you need to know about taking minutes. So these are the requirements. You will need the number of members present, so sign-in sheets are required. You will also need your name, the name of your high school, the date, time, start and end of the meeting, and where the meeting took place. You will also need any guests to be on your minutes, so that could be Kiwanis members or guest speakers, the subject of the speaker's presentation, so what you're talking about, obviously, the committee reports, if your club has any committees. For example, if you have a public relations committee at your club to do some advertising and that committee wants to do a report at the meeting, make sure you put those in your minutes. Any announcements, motions, or decisions made that can mean deciding to do a service event on like the next weekend, anything like that, any decisions that are made during that meeting should go on to the minutes, and also actions to be taken. So for example, you decide that you have a service project for this weekend, but you know that you also want to plan one for the next meeting. So just put in those minutes that we will decide another service project at the next meeting. So if you've never taken minutes before, there's a sample on the tokclub.com website that you can look at. It can help you a lot, especially if you have no idea what minutes look like. But this is an example of what a minutes report form would look like. So they would have your high school name up here, some basic information right here. And the minutes follow down here. It's just paragraph form, divide it how you see fit. You don't want like one large chunk of text without any sort of break whatsoever, because it should be easy to read so that anyone who didn't go to the meeting can read it and automatically like understand everything that happened. At the end, you will have your signature and the date that you wrote it. So this is the minutes report form that you can follow. And I actually really recommend that you follow it because we set it up for a reason like this. It's also found under Secretary Resources, and it is a Word document. It's gonna pull up in a second. So yeah, this is what it looks like. Make sure you fill everything according to your club. So don't just leave it like this, but super simple, super easy to follow. And there you go. That's how you take minutes. So here are some tips that will help make your minutes as efficient and as neat as possible. Take minutes during the meeting while the meeting is going on. I find that is the best possible way to be efficient, and it will save you so much time in the long run. Okay, hold on. Yes, you can for the district project. That's fine if your donation drive is like regarding the district project. I will be sending out the link. Yes, minutes can be signed digitally. And yes, minutes report form every time you have a meeting. So whether that's a general meeting or a officer meeting, the secretary is responsible for having like a list of everything that went on during that meeting. Okay, so taking minutes during the meeting will seriously help you save some time. I know some people like to record and then write it after. Feel free to record if you want to, and you can fill in some additional details, but it's definitely best to write during the meeting. If possible, you can pre-write, but what I mean by that is not necessarily write the minutes before the meeting, just if you have an agenda. So if your club president sends an agenda, just write down the different topics that you're going to be talking about during the meeting, and it'll help you keep where you are in the minutes and in the agenda. And I feel like it's just like a good way to see everything before the meeting even starts, and it'll give you a little bit of a head start. Keep your minutes detailed but professional. So what I mean is that you definitely want details in there. You want to be as precise as possible to capture everything that happened during that meeting, but you also want to keep it professional. So if during the meeting someone cracks a joke, or during the meeting you drift away from the topic of discussion a little bit and y'all are just talking about what happened at school that day, or just something that is unrelated to the topic of discussion, you don't need to include it into your minutes. So you want them to look as professional as possible. Third, you want to maintain chronological order. So the order of the agenda your president sends, if they talk about X and then Y and then Z, you want to talk about it in that same order in your minutes. And lastly, try to sign the bottom rather than typing out your name. It just gives a good look to your meeting minutes, and it looks more professional as well. So if you can't sign with a pen like on a PDF or anything like that, feel free to type it in cursive. So I would prefer the agenda doc not become the minutes. What I would do is I would open that minutes report form, like that empty one that I showed you guys earlier, and then you can copy and paste the agenda into the minutes just as a guide. But in the end, your minutes and agenda will not look anything alike. Your minutes will have a lot of detail, everything that you guys talked about, while the agenda typically is just like a guide to what the meeting will say. So please don't use the same agenda doc to become the minutes. So for the one that is due September 5th, please don't add any meetings or any events from July or June or before. The September one is supposed to count for the one that is due September 5th, is for the August report. So only things that you did in August, only meetings or service projects or any events like that you did in August. If you have two meetings, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, do both. So what I mean by that is you want to have minutes for every single meeting that you have had, unless it is the exact same meeting. So for example, if you have a general meeting and there's two of them that are the same time covering the exact same things, just incorporate those into one set of minutes. If you're not able to attend a meeting, have somebody take the minutes for you, or record the meeting, or have someone record it and you can listen to it later and take the minutes. Recording isn't ideal, but if you're absent, then that's probably the best that you can do. Okay, here are some frequently asked questions. So as I answered earlier, the agenda is a guide to your minutes, but the agenda itself or like the agenda with very little added detail cannot be the minutes that you turn in. So you make sure that you fill out your minutes on that report form. If you have a general and a board meeting on the same day, you still need two separate minute reports. And who are guests? So when you fill out the monthly report form, and you see this, you're going to see this table, and it's going to say number of guests. Guests in that context doesn't mean the number of people that attended your meeting. Guests actually mean any Kiwanian or teacher that isn't your faculty advisor, a guest speaker, something like that. Your LTG does count when they're on their official club visit, but not if they're just attending the meeting and they go to your school. So for example, and that goes with staff too. So if I go to my club's general meeting and I'm just going because I'm a member there, I am not considered a guest. If I went to a different school's, general meeting, so I go to Garland High School. If I went to North Garland High School's Key Club meeting, then I would be considered a guest. Okay, so if you're for the question from Madeline, if your school doesn't start until afterwards, just submit a report by September 5th and fill out whatever you can. If you submit a report early and that's all you do, no information in it, barely anything in there, you can still get 10 points. So put something in the extenuating circumstances section. Just try your best. We're trying to be super understanding this year about school starting really late or actual school starting late. So it's completely okay if your Key Club year hasn't really started or gained any momentum. Just try your best to fill out the report. And DCM, I think you mean divisional council meeting, maybe? For Andrew, what you want to do for those is if you have members attend, make note of that, but you do not have to report for those. That is an LTG's job for those divisional council meetings to take note of those. So no, the only meetings that you need to have minutes for are your school's general meetings and board meetings. So why do I need to take minutes? Well, minutes are proof for your meetings, and if you do not include minutes into your monthly report, the meetings that you say you had, there's no proof for them. So I really need those minutes to make sure that those meetings did happen. Another frequently asked question, if there are any extra points you can earn from your minutes, and you can earn +5 points for perfect attendance. So whether that be a general meeting where every single member attended or a board meeting where every single officer attended, you can get +5 points for that. And if you can't make a meeting, as I said earlier, just have someone else take the minutes or they can record it for you. An LTG who is based can count. Okay, I have not heard of that, but I will definitely ask Karina when this meeting is over or this training is over. What I've been doing, I haven't graded anything lately or for my term yet, but I've been doing, what I was planning on doing is just having LTGs be counted at their home club only if it's their official like LTG visit. But I will definitely ask Karina what she did last year and I'll get back to you. Okay, the due date is on the 5th, but if you turn everything in on the 4th or before the 4th, you get +10 points. If you turn it in on the 5th, you get +5 points. And if you turn it in late, you will get no extra points. There aren't any punishments for turning them in late per se, but you will definitely get bonus points for turning them in on time and early. So I definitely recommend that. No, you do not have to record minutes when your club visits Kiwanis meetings. So Kiwanis meetings are led by Kiwanians. You only need to record those meeting minutes when they're your club. So your high school's Key Club, they have a meeting, that's when you record your minutes. Okay, so this is like a snippet from the JOT form. this is what it looks like. So what you need for meetings to count, for me to count your points for these meetings, is you need a meeting minutes and sign-in sheets. So both are required to get the points for these, both general and board meetings. On the date over here, you're going to put in a number. So for example, if I had a meeting on August 15th, I will write 15 in here. Members present, total members in the club, and then guests present. So as I said, guests only count for those criteria that I said earlier. Guest does not mean the number of people that came to your meeting. Same thing down here for board meeting, but it's just converted to number of board members and total board members. Okay, no, if you do have two secretaries, you do not need 2-minute sheets for each meeting. So you want 1-minute sheet per meeting. If you have two secretaries, you can sign your names together and work on those minutes together, but you don't submit 2 different sheets. You'll just have like collaboration on 1 sheet. If you don't have any official members, yes, but you please try to make that number as accurate as possible, because there are like a lot of things that the points go off of are based on how many members you have. So if you don't have any official members yet, please try to keep that number as accurate as possible if you do estimate. You will submit the minute sheets on the jot form. So later I'll go over where you can find that jot form link, and then you upload it directly into the jot form. You don't need it as certain file types. When you click upload minutes or upload sign-in sheets, like right here, they will let you select any file from your computer. So it doesn't really matter which type you submit. Okay, sign-in sheets. How do you make one? Well, you will need an event name. So your date, time, and location. If it's a meeting that you're making a sign-in sheet for, then just write the meeting and the date of the meeting. You want your member's name or the board member's name, and that's basically all you need. If you want to be a little bit more extra with it, you can have their initial and signature if you have their name pre-written. Usually what I do is I just have a blank sheet and then they write their own name. But if you have like all the members on the sheet, then feel free to have them initial next to their name. That could work as well, or their grade and ID number, anything like that. And I just made a note right here that sign-in sheets are proof for general meetings and board meetings, I should add that, and service projects with over 100 man hours. So if you have a service project and there's 100 man hours, for it to count, you definitely need a sign-in sheet. Yes, so for PCMs and DCMs, divisional council meetings and presidential council meetings, I believe, you need sign-in sheets for the officers if you want to get those extra points. And I'll go over that later when we look at the jot form itself. But yeah, that's the only time you'll need a sign-in sheet for meetings that aren't your own. Yes, those, wait, hold on. An interest meeting, okay, so for the interest meeting, I would just count that as a general meeting and have those potential new members be counted as members. If your sign-in sheet is through Google Forms, you can upload that. You can make that into a spreadsheet, and then we can put that, download the spreadsheet, and you can put it into the jot form. I'll go over that in a second. Yes, you need a sign-in. Okay, technically, you do not need a sign-in sheet for all events, only events that have over 100 man hours. However, since if you're not sure if that event will go over 100 or not, then I would highly recommend you have a sign-in sheet just in case it does go over 100 man hours, and then you're like, oh no, I don't have a sign-in sheet and it won't count. So Elaine, you don't have minutes for events. You only have sign-in sheets for events, but you do keep minutes for board meetings and general meetings, and sign-in sheets for board and general meetings. So overall, you need minutes and sign-in sheets for meetings, but only sign-in sheets for events. So Maybelline, I think. Sorry if I butchered your name. But if your club is starting off new, try to estimate the amount of members that you have to the best of your ability. And you can write that in the extenuating circumstances section as well. Yes, you can have sign-in sheets for small service events. That's definitely okay. I'm just saying that it's not required for you to put that into the monthly report form. Okay, Michaela, um, do you mean for sign-in sheets? Can you please clarify, like verification? I'm going to continue for now. So this is a sample sign-in sheet for any event. It's under tokclub.com if you want to find it, but super simple, just your name, your signature or initial, and everything that I had earlier. So hosting online meetings. I know a lot of people are hosting online meetings right now, and it can be very scary if you've never done it before. So my favorite platforms for holding online meetings are Zoom and Google Hangouts, or Google Meets actually. But Zoom, like the one we're on right now, super easy to hold meetings. It's just you are limited to 40 minutes if you have over 3 people, I think, and you don't have a pro account. And I don't think that 40 minutes is that much of an issue, but if you do have really long meetings, maybe you can split the time between them. If you have over 100 people per meeting, Zoom cuts off at 100, so you can live stream your meeting. Like there's a live stream option up here, I think. I'm not super sure. Like right here, live on Facebook or live on YouTube. Or you can hold 2 different meetings, but you want one in sign-in sheet because it's the same meeting. And in that case, 2 meetings, just because there's like too many people, but it's the same meeting, you can have 1 set of minutes. Google Forms for sign-in sheets is my favorite for online meetings. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So I just made a really quick Google Forms and I put sign-in sheet for a certain date, and you can be more specific. So say this is for a board meeting or whatever, and just have your name, grade, ID number, position, anything that you need for a sign-in sheet, honestly, not that much. And after you have these people fill it out at the end of your meeting, what you can do to upload it to the Jot form is there's this create spreadsheet thing right here. Click on it and you want to create a new spreadsheet. And after you click create, it'll become a spreadsheet with every members, everyone who signed in. And so you can download that spreadsheet as a file and put it on your reports. So that's how I would put sign-in sheets when I do Google Forms. Yeah, so Google Forms is sign-in sheets for online service events. Yeah, that's totally fine. I actually recommend it because I feel like it's really easy and easy to do. Easy to input into the monthly report form too. Yes, you can use notebook paper as your sign-in sheets. Just take a picture of it or scan it to upload it. So I would prefer if you made an actual sign-in sheet based off of the screenshot, just because it's a little bit more professional. But for further Zoom meetings, I would recommend that you make a Google Forms. And I'm just going to continue. So tracking service hours. You as a secretary are responsible for keeping up with all of those crazy service projects that you guys do and which members went to them. So I know that's a super daunting task and I'll help you through it. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make a spreadsheet. I really like Google Sheets. If you like Excel or whatever platform you like, it doesn't really matter as long as you can make a spreadsheet. The spreadsheet should include your members' names, the event name, and the date that the event took place, and the number of service hours. So total man hours and individual hours. And I'm going to give you an example spreadsheet. So this is what my school looks like. I just made it blank and took everything out. But we have an last updated part right here, just so you know when the last time you put something in there was. Just sorted by grade, put their name, their ID number, and if they paid their dues or not, something like that. Over here, we have our months. So this is subject to change, but you can have, for example, if I have an event during the summer, I'm just gonna write event here. And let's say that this freshman, whoever this person is, they got 3 hours from this event. So what I did was I made the total man hours right here. I put a sum formula. So if you click on it, it'll say sum from G3 to G8. So G3 to G8 right here. And what I did was as I put in 3 hours for that person for that event, their total number of hours will also go up. So let's say they did some random another event in January and they had 5 hours here. So now their total hours is 8. So that's super helpful when you have a member coming up to you and they're asking you, how many hours do I have? It's a great idea to have this spreadsheet so you can tell them immediately. And by total man hours, it's just a total accumulated hours from that one event. So let's say this sophomore, they also went to that same event and they got 3 hours as well. So now your total man hours is 6 hours. And that's also going to be required on the monthly report. So just keep track of those using a spreadsheet and it won't be super difficult to input every month. And here's just more information on why you should need a spreadsheet. As I said, the total number of man hours is required for your monthly reports. And some members will come up to you and ask you, hey, how many hours do I have? And you'll be prepared. Since sign-in sheets are required for over 100 man hours and you're not exactly sure how many people will volunteer or you're not completely sure, I recommend having sign-in sheets for every single service event. And that way, even if you don't have over 100 man hours, you can put that into your spreadsheet and it'll definitely help when members come up to you and ask you, hey, how many hours do I have? Okay, so monthly reports. This is very scary if you have never done it before, but I can assure you it's not as difficult as it looks and you'll be just fine. So here's some brief information. Monthly reports are due on the 5th of every month at 11:59 p.m. unless the 5th falls on a Sunday, in which case the due date is on the 6th. So our August report, so everything that you did in August, your August meetings, August service events, everything like that, is due on September 5th at 11:59 p.m. Central. Submitting reports is the only way that the district board sees events you're doing. So whenever you're submitting a monthly report, I get to see all the wonderful service projects that y'all are participating in, and I get to tell the board, I get to tell the staff, and it's just an amazing way to get yourself recognized. Okay, here's where you find the report link. So if you go to tokeyclub.com and Secretary Resources right here, this is where your monthly report link is. So every single month, you're going to go here and click on this link and it will take you to this form. So you want to put your club name in here, and the month. So for example, I go to Garland High School, I would write Garland High School August when I'm submitting it in September. And then also my email. So I just put secretary@tokeyclub.com, but whatever email you use, put it right here. After you submit this, you will get an email with the actual link that you'll use to update your monthly report. So something about the monthly report is that you do not have to do the whole thing all in one go. It's a very long form. So if you don't want to do everything at once, and I recommend that you don't actually, then you can do it after, like every time you get an update, you can go to the form, add something new, and then at the end of the month, you can submit it. But yeah, so this is what you need to do at the beginning, just so that your form will save properly. And so after you do this and you go to your email and you click on the link, you're going to see what the form actually looks like. So this is what I see as I'm building the form, but you're going to see the exact same thing on your end. So school name, make sure you don't have any acronyms. So there's a lot of CHS, GHS, MHS. I don't know what school you're from if you say that. So make sure you put your entire school name. The month is the month that all these events are going in. So even if you're submitting it in September 5th, we're actually talking about August right here. Your advisor's email, president, secretary, all of that. Kiwanis advisor, that refers to the Kiwanian who serves as the liaison between your club and your local Kiwanis club. As you can see, it's not required, so you don't have to have it. Like this means required. You don't have to have it if you don't know it, but it's just great information to include. And then your school address, your region, division. If you don't know any of these things, the region or the division, make sure you ask your LTG. The date your dues were paid, you only fill out this section once, and the total members that you paid for. So I showed you this general meetings and sign-in thing earlier. Are you talking about the task of the month, Michaela? Okay. And yeah, so the task of the month, I'm almost down there, but it can be as many words as you want. There's no word limit, no minimum, no maximum, just as many words as you feel you need to answer the prompt. So if you did go to a DCM, just click yes, no for all of these functions. Training conferences. So this training technically isn't a training conference, it's just for secretaries, but sometimes you will have training conferences where you're going to have this huge meeting and all of your officers have the opportunity to get trained. And so if all of your officers get trained, you can attach proof of that and get extra points. Recognition counts as radio coverage, TV coverage, thank you messages from places that you worked at or places that you donated to, anything like that. Yes, you can still click yes. And yes, are you talking about proof for the training conference? Yes, so you do attach a sign-in sheet. And recognition proof, so whatever you got recognition for, and it is required for recognition to count. So for example, someone sent you a thank you email to your club, then just take a picture of that or turn it into a file and just put it right here. Socials. So what is a social? A social is any event where you do not do service. So a service project cannot count as a social. You don't do service, but you have fun together. And any meetup of any kind that has 4 people or at least 4 Key Club members, that can count as a social. Online socials are perfectly fine. We know that you're having a lot of online service events this year too. So online socials, no biggie, that's totally fine. Just put your date and your number present. And again, for the date, you just want to put the number. So August 6th, just be a number 6 right here. And a description of your social. Interclubs are when you have meetings with different branches of the K family. So service projects with different members of the K family. So if you did a service project with Kiwanis family, with the Kiwanis, with your local Kiwanis club, then that counts as an interclub. K meetings is attending a meeting of no. So if a Kiwanis member attends your board meeting, that counts as a guest for your meeting. My apologies. I meant interclubs were service events where different branches of the K family join together. Does that clear it up for you? Okay. K meetings. That's when you attend a meeting that where you go to a different K branch. So for example, if you attended a Kiwanis meeting, that would count. If you attended a Builders Club meeting or K Kids, any meeting that isn't your Key Club, that counts. So are you saying your board meeting is a fundraiser with Kiwanis? Or like, are you asking if a service project that's a fundraiser with Kiwanis would count as an interclub? Okay, the one that's Viva, I think. If you do a service project with another club at your school, I would just put that as a a regular event. Interclubs are typically geared towards a collaboration with another K family branch. So if you had if you collaborated with NHS or something, I wouldn't really count that as an interclub. Just put that as a normal service event. If your Kiwanis and your club did a fundraiser together, yes, that can be counted as an interclub. Okay, so service this really long, big activity sheet. So I made this conversion table in case you need any help converting things. I know some schools already have their own type of conversions, but if you don't, you can feel free to use this. So for example, you have a clothing drive and you get a lot of donations. Each article of clothing or each item will be counted as one service hour. If your school doesn't work that way, if you guys have already established and you've already said and told members that 3 items is worth an hour, that's completely fine. Just put it in here using your conversion table rather than mine. But if you don't have a conversion table already, if you don't know like how many of something counts for a service hour, you can feel free to use this. Just another note, if you give your club, if your members get double hours for attending an event, I know some clubs do that when they have events that are really last minute. Please do not report double hours in this total man hours place. So for example, you actually volunteered for 30 hours or your club did 30 man hours, but since you guys gave them double man hours as an incentive, please don't put 60 in here, put the actual number of hours. So you want 50 service hours a year. So I would recommend 25 hours for each member per semester. And then service proof, as I said, you need a sign-in sheet for each service project that is over 100 total man hours. And you can have guests attend your activities, your service events. So for example, if you had a service project, but you had one Kiwanian come help out, they would be considered a guest. So just attach a sign-in sheet with their name on it for extra points. If you participated in the governor's project or the district project, just put what you did, but only for this month. So if you did something for the project in a different month, then refrain from doing so for this monthly report. And the total number of members in your club. So as I said, please try to fill this out as accurately as possible. I know getting membership this year is very different and can be quite challenging, but just try to fill this out as accurately as possible. If you have any donations that your club did to any organizations, you can put them here. And you do need proof for donations. So or if it's over $500, so just attach a receipt or something like that. Donation drives, you can put them down here as well. So you know how I said that you can have drives in your service project up all the way right here? You can also talk about it down here, elaborate on it a little bit more, and you also need proof. So what that can mean is maybe a picture of all the things that you've donated, or just like an email of the donation drives, donation items being accepted, anything like that. Task of the month. So every month on the website, I upload a task of the month. It's just like a little prompt, something that you can answer, something that can give you extra points. And so I put it right here for you to see for August. It is explain what changes your club is implementing to adapt to the upcoming school year given the pandemic. So all you need to do is answer it on a document, on a Word doc, something like that, and attach it right here. There's no word count requirements or anything like that. Just answer the question to the best of your ability. And I will give you from 0 to 10 points on that. So I think that can count as both. So you can, well, okay, I would say that's more of a donation because you can't count the number of hours for selling shirts unless you went out somewhere and you stood out there and like sold shirts. For service projects, you need to have some way to quantify like how many service hours that is. So in your case, I would just count it as a donation. And then lastly, the extenuating circumstances box. Just let me know any challenges you've had this month. If there was any reason you couldn't fill out something on this form because something in your club happened, or just anything that you want me to know, just put it right here. I can give you 0 to 10 points for this section. So just fill it out. There's no harm in filling it out. And any questions, comments, concerns that you have for me. I know that was a lot. Continue asking questions, guys. Thank you so much for asking questions. But after you fill this out and you submit it, you're going to see this thank you page. It looks like this, and it just has a little bit of my contact information. And when you see this, that means your report went through. So it looks good, and that means you got it submitted. After you send this, I will send you feedback. I'm hoping to send you feedback as soon as possible, so within 2 weeks or so. But yeah, I will send feedback to you, your president, and your regional advisor. Okay, here are some tips on filling that really long monthly report out. Fill it out early. Get those meeting minutes in as soon as the meeting ends. Get those service project hours, all of that. Put it into your monthly report as soon as the event is over, just so you don't forget about it, and just so you do have a lot of less work when you're about to turn it in. You don't want to sit there on September 4th and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what meetings we had this month. I don't even know what service projects we did. I'm super stressed out. Try to avoid that by starting it early. So I would say at least in the middle of the month. So around right now, like if you haven't started it yet. Hold on. Yes, you can. Cedars Academy. A K meeting is when you go to a meeting of a different K branch. So for example, if you had a couple of Key Club members go to a local Kiwanis meeting, that would be considered a K meeting, or even a Builders Club meeting, something like that. Yeah, so start it as early as possible. Right now would be an awesome time to start, just because this information is fresh in your mind. And yeah, it's already the middle of the month. So go ahead and start if you haven't already. If you submit the report late, it's better than not submitting at all. So as I said earlier, if you just submit like that contact information on the top, nothing else, you can get 10 points if you submit it on the September 4th, or if you submit it early. So any amount of points will definitely help you out. If you feel like there's nothing to report, I encourage you to submit one anyway. There's seriously no harm in doing it, and it's not like you can get negative points. Read feedback. So after I send you feedback, when you submit it, make sure you read it. If you have any questions, make sure you ask them. You want to keep improving and learning, so you can keep getting more points for your club. And also you want to review the point system to know where you will earn points. So on the tokeyclub.com secretary resources, there's a link or a file that you can view the point system. So you know exactly where you will earn points, how many points you will earn for completing a certain box or something like that. Super helpful when you want to maximize the amount of points you get for your club. Here are some easy points you can get. So completing the task of the month. As I said, I put it on the website every month. Here's what it looks like on the website right now. It's just a picture that says August task of the month, and then the prompt is right below right here. Also, completing that extenuating circumstances section. Seriously, not a big deal. Just put anything that you want me to know, any challenges that you've had to face that month, and easy points. Also, attending DCMs or PCMs hosted by your lieutenant governor. All you have to do is attend and you'll get some points for that. So not super difficult and great way to earn more points. Here are some ways to earn bonus points. So as I said, plus 10 points for turning it in before the 5th, plus 5 for turning it in on the 5th, and plus 0 for late reports. So if the deadline is the 6th that month, then you would be 10 points for turning it in before the 6th, 5 points for turning it on the 6th, and plus 0 points for turning in late reports. You want to get perfect attendance if possible, because you'll get plus 5 points for that. And you'll also get plus 5 points for having all 4 voting delegates at a divisional election conference. Okay, DCMs and PCMs stand for Divisional Council Meeting and Presidential Council Meeting. So they're just these monthly meetings held by your Lieutenant Governor to give you some updates, whatever's going on the district level, or just to remind you of some deadlines you need to meet. Super up to your Lieutenant Governor, but make sure you do keep in contact with your Lieutenant Governor so that you know when those DCMs and PCMs are. And then also, if you donate to a major emphasis program, so UNICEF, March of Dimes, Children's Miracle Network, you can get plus 5 points for that. If you get all your officers trained at a training conference, you will get 5 points for that. And then also plus 20 points for registering for LADCon early. So regarding feedback, after you submit it, I will email you, your president, and your regional advisor, as I said earlier. But one thing is I can't tell you how many points you earned. So that is confidential information. Yes, you can, Avery. No, this does not count as a training conference. Training conferences are like a lot bigger than this. Training conferences are when you have an opportunity for all the officers to be trained. So there'll be like a breakout room or a forum for each officer. And typically there will be a regional training conference. So for all the officers in your region, and just keep on the lookout for your Lieutenant Governor for information for training conferences. But no, unfortunately, this does not count as a training conference. I would recommend at least 25 hours per semester just so you can get 50 hours for the year. So anyways, as I was saying, I can't exactly tell you how many points you've earned. I can only tell you where you can improve. So with that in mind, if you want to, you can estimate how many points you've earned looking at your looking at like the point system. But I feel like there's not really any point to that because you're not allowed to know how many points other clubs earn. So what I would do is just try to fill in as many things to the best of my ability. And if you try to complete almost everything on that form, then your points will probably be very high. So don't worry too much about specific number of points. And also, if you have any questions about the feedback that I gave you, just send me an email, text message, anything like that. Top 25 clubs. So this year reporting was cut short, right? Our first report is due September 5th. So that means that top 25 clubs is only going to be announced 3 times this year. It's going to be announced in October, January, and at LADCon. It's a huge honor to be a top 25 club. And I'll give you some tips on how to become a top 25 club in the next slide. But to clarify how I calculate it, I take all the points, so all the points that from your submission and all the points from the editor's submission, I put it all together for your club. And so for the October one, I'm adding up August and September points. And then for January, when I announce it in January, it'll be so August, September, October, November, December. So like all of the months up to January, and then at LADCon, it'll be all of your points from August to LADCon. So it just adds on over time, if that makes sense. And if you keep your points up starting in August, it'll be a really great start on your way to becoming a top 25 club. So some tips on becoming a top 25 club, you want to take advantage of easy bonus points. So it becomes super competitive when you get up there, like especially the top 10 or so. So you want to take advantage of those easy or bonus points as much as you possibly can so that you can maximize those points. Also, both secretaries and editors need to be submitting assignments. So if you're unfamiliar with the editor, with what editors need to do, I was actually district editor last year. And what you have to do is you have to turn in newsletters, articles, photos, riddle of the month, like a lot of things. They have their own list of things to do. So what you want to do is make sure that your editor, I'm sure that you don't really have power over that or anything, but definitely encourage your editor to submit everything that they can as well, so that both of you guys are submitting assignments and you'll maximize your points. All top 25 clubs have both officers submitting. So if it's just you doing the work and you're doing all that you possibly can, but your editor is not submitting anything, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to become a top 25 club. And that's it. So I've been answering your questions throughout, but if you have any more, feel free to ask. I have my email up here, right here. You could email either one, it doesn't really matter. My phone number, again, my Remind, it's where I'm the most active. I will definitely keep you guys updated on my Remind. All you have to do is text at TO6 to 81010 to join. And if you want to join the secretary group me, make sure you join my Remind first, and I'll send out another link to join the secretary group me. It's a super casual group chat. You can just chat with other secretaries if you want to. I don't have as many updates in there, but if you do want to make some secretary friends, I would recommend joining the group me. I'm actually planning on doing like a little secretary bonding soon. So yeah, does anybody have anything they'd like to share or any more questions? So, Cedars Academy, I've actually never heard of that point system, but I mean, if that works for your club, then go for it. But that's really up to your own club, I think. Like, you wouldn't put that anywhere on the monthly report. Yes, I will put the slideshow on the Remind, and I'll also share the link to this video that that we're sharing right now. So. Riley, I'm going to send out a link to join on the Remind as soon as this training is over. So just join that Remind and I will send it out. I will also send out the link to this slideshow. Okay, was this helpful for you guys? I really hope it was. We're back to here. Just let me know if you need anything else. I am here to help you. Yeah, just contact me if you need anything. And thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really glad you're here. And that's it. I'm going to end the recording. And yeah, thanks for joining, guys.